Greetings, YouTube. This is going to be another video where I talk about my growing understanding of my neurodivergence, both my executive function problems and my autism, and how they are complicated by my mental illness. So it's one big mental smorgasbord in here. Um, and I've been trying to grasp things and break them down into understandable pieces. And I've always had a better time doing that. If something just, you get this big thing, it just intimidates the living crap out of me. But if I can break it down, it's one of the few ways I've actually been able to clean some things up in my house and organize some things. My basement is far more organized than this is. I'm trying to work on that. And I've had some success, though. You can't really see it, but I have. So if I can break things down into smaller segments, I have more success. As the old motto goes, you can eat a whale a bite at a time. Um, and I realized that when it comes to my mental load capacity, that I have limits, as we all do. Um, and I begin to understand the mechanisms behind it. So, as the title of this video says, do not stack. You're not supposed to put too much weight on an object. So if you're shipping something and it says do not stack, that means you don't want to put stuff on top of it because you will harm the contents of whatever container there is, so they don't want you to do that. So there's nothing wrong with putting that object on something else which is more robust, but yeah, don't put things on top of that one. Sometimes shippers even read that and pay attention. It does happen. It's amazing when it does. I've seen things shipped to companies that looked like somebody ran a steamroller over them because, the people didn't do their job right. What a shock. So if I'm given a stress, any kind of stress, and even if it's a stress that someone else would consider insignificant, it doesn't matter. If you consider something a stressor, it's a stressor. No one gets to judge you. No one gets to tell you, yes, that is a stressor, I agree, or no, that's so insignificant it shouldn't bother you. That kind of thing, that kind of a statement is demeaning. It's going to have a negative effect on the person you're telling it to. You're not being helpful. So if are you there to harm or you're there to help? Those are your options. If you think you're helping and you're harming, maybe it's time to step back and at the very least, don't say anything until you figure out how to respond appropriately. Not saying something is sometimes the best action you can take. And it's really easy. So if I'm given a stressor, I can usually handle a wide range of stressors, even ones that are significant in front of me, because I have unfortunately lived a life where stressors are common. And if I have an interval from between that stressor and the next one, I'm normally okay. The problem is that interval is plastic. Sometimes that interval can be measured in minutes. Sometimes it can be measured in hours or days. Mostly, my interval is about an hour, roughly. If I have something complex happen or something unpleasant happen, and an hour later I have something else happen, I'm never going to make a connection between those two things, and it's not going to do anything more to me than it would to a person that isn't neurodivergent, because we all get tired and worn down by stressors in life. Whether it's a physical stressor or it's an emotional or intellectual stressor, it doesn't matter. But if that interval is too short, and again, that interval is unfortunately plastic, I cannot give you hard numbers, things get worse for me. So to use the stacking metaphor, if each of the two objects in question, the stressors, are a 10-pound stress, I can handle a 10-pound stress. Pretty much everyone who's an adult can handle a 10-pound stress. Not everybody. I know that. And don't lift things that weigh more than 10 pounds above your shoulder height, just to be safe. But if I have that stressor, the second one, hit me too close to the first one, it's not a 10-pound weight. It's about a 20-pound weight. It's much more of a significant impact on me than the first stressor, even if both of those stressors were completely the same as their degree of severity. And if there's a third stressor, even though it would normally be a 10-pound stressor, it's going to be 40 pounds. And very shortly, if enough of them hit me in a rapid succession, I get beat down real damn quick. And I get into some places that I really don't want to go. And now that I have a better understanding of my neurodivergence and my mental illness, I understand it's happening. I can observe it kind of like, third person. I can kind of see what's going on. And sometimes that's helpful, and sometimes this actually makes it worse because now that then like the self-recrimination punches in there. Like why are you this way? Everybody else can handle this, which is a lie, but that's my anxiety speaking. It's a loud, complex place in here. And there isn't a trick. I try to get out of it, and I can even articulate that to my wife. It's like, I'm not in a good place right now, dear. I am sorry. I'm trying to get out. I don't know what to do. Now, some things can help, but they're not consistent. Eating often helps. Hydration isn't an issue for me. I've always got water near me. So yeah, hydration is something I've got well under control. It rarely ever has an impact on my life. But sometimes I don't eat as regularly as I should, particularly if I'm been pushed to a bad place. We had some flooding in my basement last year, and I spent like 9 solid hours in the basement in this frantic, absolute state of panic. And my wife kept trying to get me to come upstairs to eat, to get out of the physical space I was in, where there was a flooding problem that kept happening. I kept cleaning it up, and I couldn't leave that space. I was stuck, and there was nothing she could do to physically get me out of it, so she just left me there. And eventually I broke out of it, but it was hard. But eating can help. Also, napping can help. First of all, because these stressors are fatiguing, but also that's kind of like a reset switch for me. I can take a nap and like 2 hours, pretty easy. I'll set something of a timer. Like a 2-hour nap is usually what I need. It doesn't actually have to be much longer than that. And that will help me get out of that space, kind of reset my brain a little, and suddenly I can observe those stressors as what they were, each individual one as a 10-pound stressor that absolutely had nothing to do with each other, but in my head they do. In my head they are absolutely connected to each other, and they are beating me down like a goddamn sledgehammer. But once I'm out of that state, I can see that they aren't. They're not connected. That it is my neurodivergence and my mental illness that makes the connections that in actuality do not exist. It's, like I said, it's really damn frustrating. It kind of strangely, I'm talking about this now because I just had an episode like this weekend. I'm filming this on a Sunday, and I took a nap, and strangely, I dreamed about sleeping. I, I dreamed that I was going to sleep and there were obstacles in my path to achieve slumber. But eventually, I achieved slumber. So I was dreaming about being asleep. A little odd, even for me. And I have vivid, very cinematic dreams frequently, with beginnings, middles, and ends, and characters, and sets I use, and I repeat the sets and things like that. If I dream about a school, it's always the same school. If I dream about a gaming store, there's two I always use in my head to fluctuate which is which. I have a strip mall I visit all the time when I have certain dreams. I'd love to get there. There's a really nice thrift shop in it. But when those things start stacking up, it's not good. And I can't separate them in that minute. And that place I'm in, I've often told people that anxiety is a time machine, because it can hold you in that moment, and there has never been past when you weren't stressed and anxious and depressed, and there's never going to be a point in your future when you aren't anxious and stressed and depressed. You are in the eternal now. It is a moment of eternity. And it's horrible. And I hope no one who hears my words has ever experienced it. And if you do, I'm sorry there, sibling. I really am. I wish I could do something to get you out. I feel your pain. I know that place. And it is a place that no one ever needs to be in. So, my advice is, if at all possible, do not stack.